What's happening, YouTube? Let's get right into this. Okay, I just want to go through the structure quickly of the folders, the image folder, the zip folder, and also a couple of modules. We're going to be using some non-native Python modules like the netaddr module, and also what else? Let me see here. Right, we go in here. And we've got tutorial 2. Okay, so this is the way I've laid it out. Obviously your one's going to be called whatever it's going to be called. It may be called Nmap On Android. Okay, I've got a folder with images, I've got a folder with zips. Obviously the images folder has got the images which I'm going to supply for you guys, and for some reason I have another folder in here with zips which is empty. I think I can delete that, and if we go back, this is a zips folder which contains obviously the Nmap logo, and I got bitten by a dog today, which is really nice, which is making it exceptionally hard to type, but the show must go on. Yes, right, so we've got our main, and we've also got an OUI.txt which we're not going to be using at the moment, but we may be in the future. What I want to do is I want to place the netaddr module here, so when we build our APK, which I'm going to do in this tutorial, just so that we've got the APK up and running and you guys know how to do it, we need to navigate to, let me see, file system, let's go user local lib, user local lib Python site packages, and we have nothing there, so be this packages. Okay, so all we need to do is literally copy this folder. Okay, we go home, go to the directory where our APK will be. We're currently in tutorial 2, and we paste that in there. So when we import it, we don't get any errors, hopefully. Now I've imported a few more things for this tutorial. We've got the scroll view, which is going to have our nodes. We've got the netaddr module, which we've just copied over. We've got the subprocess module, which is we're going to use to call the Ifconfig function. We've got the time module, which is obviously going to take the time. Let's see if this crashes now. It shouldn't do, since I imported the netaddr module. Just quickly, yeah, so I'm stroking this dog, and he's licking my hand, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, this dog's okay, this dog's fine, there's nothing wrong with this dog. Nah, apparently he was tasting what he was going to eat for supper. Right, so that's cool, that hasn't crashed, which means the netaddr module was successfully imported. Now the reason we're using the netaddr module is that when you call an nmap command, there's a lot of ways of doing it, but one way is using CIDR notation, or CIDR. So you do like a 192.168.10.0 slash whatever it is, it might be /8. Now we can get this using the netaddr module like so. So I've imported it over here, alright, and if you come over here to this code which I pre-coded, if we go to the Ifconfig section here, I have a little function here. Now this is part of the netaddr module. Okay, so I'm basically taking my IP and my netmask, which is giving me back the output I want. So for example, if we just recreate that, we've got nmap scan equals IP network, and we get an error. Awesome, I love errors. Right, it always does that for some reason. Alright, so I have, for example, 192.168.10.3, and I have a /, and then I have my net mask, which would be 255.255, and let me just open this up a bit. Hopefully you guys can see 255.255.255.0. Okay, and if we nmap scan, right, so this is what's given back to us. So we can just pass that to nmap and let it know, look, this is our subnet and this is the range to scan. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, I've defined this function a couple of times actually in previous tutorials. Okay, so I'm not going to go over it again. If you want to find out what all of this is doing, then you can go back to the KP tutorials, and I think I've done a couple more tutorials on this actual code here. Alright, so to actually import the label, which was the homework, it's just that. So we do a self.networkinfo equals self.id's network info. Now what we're actually referencing obviously is the label up here, which we gave an ID. If I can find it, there we go. Alright, so we can actually access it, change the text to it, do what we want with it. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's copy that and come down here, and we just paste that in there. Now a quick little function just to take the time would be this. Now I encourage you guys to go through the code and find out what it does. It literally just gets a date time, so that's a useful little output that we can get and call. So let's put that there, and the actual get network function, okay, which is an Ifconfig call, which is using subprocess check output, okay, which will run fine on Android, but there is something that we do need to do to get it to run, which I'll show you in a sec. And I also have two globals. One is my personal LAN info, okay, which we can utilize throughout the tool however you want. It's a constant, so obviously the LAN info will stay the same unless you change the interface, which is here. Okay, and we have actually defined or predefined it up hither, so we can copy this and place that just above that class there. And all we need to do now is we just need to copy the ifconfig function itself. Now I'm just checking if I need to put anything else in there beforehand. No, that should be fine. So we've got, you notice here I've commented out this. Now this is for, in particular, for Android. So when you're building your APK, you can uncomment this and comment this, because otherwise, if I try to run this on Ubuntu, it may give me a different output, okay, which is something I don't want. I can actually, let me try and see what happens. On the other hand, it may not. Okay, it hasn't, but just for safety's sake, I just do that as well, especially later in the program as well. You'll see why. Alright, so let's copy that, and now we're just formatting the output, and this is actually using the get date time function. So the final print statement in here is just for debugging. I like to do that. I like to put print statements. It's good to put it throughout your code just to see what's happening and where it's happening if you run into any issues. Alright, so there's a little tip there. So let's paste that there like that, and let's build, and hopefully we haven't got any errors, but we have. Why have we got an error? Why is there an error? Why? Let's see. Self.network info. It's probably an indentation. Yes. Okay. And oh yeah, something else here. And this is the joy of doing it live. Now what I do need to do is let's configure this so we can run in execute there. Okay, so we can actually see the output and see what's happening. Let's just make that a bit wider there. Alright, so okay, Nmap tool object has no attribute get network apparently. Right, so why not? Aha, that's why. Okay, so obviously we didn't define the function because we're copying and pasting. Def get network brackets self. That should be okay. Well, hey, so we have a Ifconfig output, okay, on our screen. We've got some flashing eyes. Alright, we've got the netaddr module successfully imported. Okay, the next tutorial is coming straight after this one, and we're going to actually build the APK. Okay, so you can debug straight away. After that, you can add whatever functionality you want. We're going to get into the LAN scan also. Alright guys, I'm actually happy that I had a few errors there, so you could actually see, you know, the process you have to go through just to debug and find out what's going on. Obviously, hopefully you're not cutting and pasting, because you're not going to learn anything like that. Also, just very quickly, the font size here for the label is root.width divided by 55, so it's always taking the root's width, which means if the window gets resized anyhow, it should accommodate for that. Okay, so if you're thinking about building for different devices, that's one way of doing it. Alright, stay tuned. Thanks for watching guys. Keep coding, keep being awesome. See ya.